There are 46 exotics in Destiny 1 that have not made the jump into Destiny 2. These consist of 24 armor pieces and 22 weapons. Not counting class items, maybe I'll do a separate video for those. Hello and welcome to the first in a series of videos that revolve around one of my favorite games of all time, Destiny 2. Today we'll be taking a look at all of the exotic armors left behind, examining their original traits, and updating them with the current Destiny 2 sandbox in mind. For this video, I'll try and stay as true to the original idea or feel of the exotic from Destiny 1, with a few exceptions along the way. And of course, these are just my ideas. I would love to hear what you would give these exotics if you were bringing them into the new sandbox. And as an honest disclaimer, I did no research into other videos covering the same idea outside of revisiting the original exotics and their perks. Any ideas that mimic or are close to any other YouTubers are completely coincidental. Also, I am not a game dev. These perks and changes probably aren't balanced, even though I did my best to explain why and how they could be balanced. With that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into it. Light Beyond Nemesis. Kicking us off, we have our Warlock Exotics, starting with the helmet Light Beyond Nemesis. In Destiny 1, Light Beyond Nemesis was part of a trio of exotics that consisted of itself, Crest of Alpha Lupi, and Crest of Alpha Lupi. Don't get them confused, one was for a hunter, one was for a titan. The titan's exotic crest has been brought into Destiny 2 already, and we'll get to the hunters down the line. With that being said, how can we update this exotic for use in Destiny 2? In Destiny 1, these exotics carried the perk Keeper of the Pack, which states, you revive fallen teammates faster, and they revive you faster. Your super also spawns additional orbs for teammates. Light Beyond Nemesis was a very vanilla exotic that could pair well with most builds. Not very exciting or stand out, besides the fashion game. For Destiny 2, I would aim to keep it versatile and a decent bonus to any subclass that uses it, while upping it to make it a little more unique than its Destiny 1 counterpart. I would give this exotic a perk I've called Winged Angel. Orbs of power created by you grant your equipped super subclass buff to you and your allies matching elemental weapons, and includes intrinsic harmonic siphon. Solar weapons would receive scorching rounds, void weapons would receive volatile rounds, arc weapons would receive jolting feedback, stasis weapons would receive chill clip, and strand weapons would gain unraveling rounds. The play loop of this exotic would be simple. Generate orbs, then give you and your teammates weapon bonuses for picking up those orbs. It leans into more of a support exotic than something like Chromatic Fire does, and would be balanced by the timer of the buff. This would allow Light Beyond Nemesis to give Warlocks a more weapons-focused playstyle, retaining the vanilla feel of the Destiny 1 exotic but adding a little bit of spice. Combining this with Facet of Purpose on Prismatic would be a very obvious synergy, and it would allow weapons without a subclass verb to tie in better with a variety of builds. The Ram. A more aggressive version of the Stag, the Ram was a staple of my Destiny 1 Void Warlock kit, and, in my opinion, looked better too. So how can we fix this amazing looking exotic when we bring it into Destiny 2? In Destiny 1, it came with the perk Strength of the Ram, which states, increased armor. All Voidwalker melees trigger lifesteal on hit. And if you don't know or don't remember what lifesteal was, it was a Destiny 1 subclass perk that reads, damaging an enemy with energy drain immediately restores a significant portion of your health. Energy drain being the old Destiny 1 Void Warlock powered melee. So this exotic allowed Destiny 1 Voidlocks to take more damage and gave their melee a healing effect, which paired nicely with a melee-focused Void playstyle. Something I think Void Warlocks in Destiny 2 are lacking, which is why I'm giving the Ram the perk Hand of the Call. Improved Pocket Singularity. Defeating weakened or volatile enemies while Devour is active grants an overshield. This perk closely resembles what the Destiny 1 Ram accomplished, with the improved Pocket Singularity becoming a completely unique melee. My idea for the new melee would be to leave a Child of the Old Gods on hit. This change also accomplishes the second part of the old Ram's increased armor, by allowing Warlocks to gain an overshield similar to Repulsor Brace. And of course, all of this would be balanced around the speed of your melee returning and the overshield requiring Devour to be procced. Obsidian Mind. This super returning exotic back in Destiny 1 was overshadowed by its cousin, Skull of Dire Ahamkara. Despite it looking absolutely amazing, the Skull simply had a better neutral game. So how do we update this exotic to stand on its own when we bring it to Destiny 2? Destiny 1 Obsidian Mind came with the perk Insatiable, which read, Nova Bomb kills reduce the cooldown of your next Nova Bomb. Fast forward to Destiny 2, and now Skull has stolen Obsidian Mind's lackluster super regen perk right out from under it. So to keep it as an exotic focused on altering your super, and giving it the chance to take revenge on its doppelganger, I have given Destiny 2's Obsidian Mind the perk Lancer. Cast up to 3 Lancer Nova Bombs in quick succession. Grenade final blows decrease the cooldown of your super. Nova Bomb in Destiny 2 hasn't been a meta pick for a while, and I definitely think it needs a buff, but in the meantime, Obsidian Mind's updated perk would turn your single target damage super into an ad clearing machine. This new super would allow you to cast a small Nova Bomb with no drop in trajectory, allow you to reposition, and then fire it again up to 3 times. Picture casting your 3 mini nukes and then regenning your super faster through grenade kills. It's a fun exotic, which mimics what Shards of Galanor does for the hunter. Alchemist's Raiment. I'm gonna be honest, I really don't remember using Alchemists at all during Destiny 1. I don't think I was alone in my lack of using this one, as the exotic was more of an economic generator more than an actual battle exotic. So how can we fix this exotic for use in Destiny 2? Destiny 1's Alchemist's Raiment came with the perk Iron to Gold, chance to gain Glimmer on primary ammo pickup. Orbs collected when your super is full recharge your grenades and melee. This exotic could work well on any subclass, and tied into weapon ammo. I wanted to retain that. Plus, I love the idea of an alchemist transforming things into something more useful, so I reworked the perk for play in Destiny 2. Destiny 2's Iron to Gold reads, weapon kills grant bonus energy to all abilities based on ammo type, with heavy weapons granting the most energy. Picking up heavy ammo will always grant special ammo, and picking up special ammo has an escalating chance to grant heavy ammo. I loved thinking about this one because the idea of the exotic is a really cool one. The new perk keeps the spirit of the perk's namesake by transforming ammo into more ammo of a different type. I may be going a bit overboard with this one, but I love the idea of this armor piece a lot. This exotic would incentivize a very unique playstyle, leaning into ad clear using heavy weapons. I think this could be a serious contender for Warlocks with the right builds and subclass synergies to back it up. Heart of Praxic Fire. Praxic Fire was a staple Destiny 1 exotic for Radiance Warlocks, taking an already good super, upping its ability cooldowns even more, and making you faster to boot. In a Destiny 2 sandbox where we are already really powerful, how could we change Praxic Fire so that it stands out amongst its peers? In Destiny 1, it came with the perk Praise the Sun, which reads, further decreases all ability cooldowns while Radiance is active, greatly increased agility. Radiance no longer exists, but its more powerful younger brother Song of Flame does. So I decided to run in a similar direction in Destiny 2's version by creating the new perk Praise the Dawn. Song of Flame grants restoration and bonus move speed to yourself and allies within Song of Flame's radius. Song of Flame lasts longer the more allies are in radius. Similar to its Destiny 1 counterpart, the new Praxic Fire would become a staple to Solar Warlocks running Song of Flame, granting move speed and restoration to power up Song of Flame even more, while also providing increased utility in team play. I think this would be enough to help Praxic Fire stand out among the rest. Purifier Robes. In Destiny 1, when self-resing was still a thing, Purifier Robes added an extra level of safety by blinding enemies in a radius upon self-res cast. This was great in PvP situations like Trials, when enemies could group up on your body and wait to gun you down mid-animation. But I don't think it was ever a top choice when I look back on this one, so how can we change it when moving Purifier Robes into Destiny 2? Destiny 1 Purifier Robes came with the perk Burn Brighter, which states, activating radiance from death disorients nearby enemies. Now, self-res isn't a thing in Destiny 2, much to the delight of the devs I'm sure, because who knows how many things that would break in the game. But a well-loved new solar aspect could absolutely benefit from having a synergistic exotic pairing. I'm of course talking about Hellion. With that in mind, I gave Destiny 2's Purifier Robes the perk Autorat Terram. You become radiant upon Hellion cast. Hellion has increased rate of fire and cures you on ignition kill. This turns up your Hellion gameplay and allows you to really build into the aspect. Paired with Ember of Singeing, this would flow really well into itself and could lead to some really fun builds in a similar fashion as Getaway Artist does for Arc Soul, or Briarbinds for Child of the Old Gods. Voidfang Vestments. I was really excited to think this one up, as I remember using these on my Destiny 1 Voidlock when I wasn't using the RAM. I also thought they were one of the cooler looking exotics back in Destiny 1, which made for a fun combination when using them. That being said, how could we update the vestments for a Destiny 2 sandbox? Destiny 1 Voidfang came with the perk Hungering Void, which reads, spawn with full grenade energy, and your Axiom Bolt grenade spawns an additional Seeker. So these exotics revolved around improving your Axiom Bolt, which is something we still have in Destiny 2. Keeping true to that theme, I created the perk The Inevitable. Axiom Bolts spawn an additional Seeker, travel faster, and apply Volatile on hit. Killing a volatile enemy spawns an additional Seeker on death. I really enjoy the idea of this new perk, as it would give Axiom Bolts a much needed boost in PvE, while also seeing some potential play in PvP. It synergizes beautifully with Devour setups, volatile rounds, and multiple fragments in the Destiny 2 Voidlock kit. One little caveat I would make to keep this one in line would be to keep the Seeker chaining to only one additional Seeker, similar to what Colony does by only spawning one additional insect each kill. The Impossible Machine. Thinking back to Destiny 1, I can't remember using these ones much, but I am also a hunter main, so maybe take that with a grain of salt. They looked great with the arcing lightning on your arms, but that's about all it brought to the table. So how can we update this exotic for better use in Destiny 2? Impossible Machines had the perk Lightning Rod, which states, unlocks the Stormcaller subclass node Landfall for free. On casting Storm Trance, fire a bolt of lightning into the ground, creating a devastating shockwave under you. In Destiny 2, this would be laughably out of date, as A, Storm Trance does this already, and B, who uses Storm Trance anyways? So I decided to revamp this exotic by giving it similar functionality to Pyrogale on Titan, but for Warlocks. I recommended the perk I have called Tempest Trail. Increases lightning surge damage and radius. Arc kills have an escalating chance to grant melee energy. Lightning Surge, in a similar vein to Consecration, is a decent ability on both Arc and Prismatic setups, but it lacks a bit of the damage to make it worthwhile on higher end PvE. So let's juice it up a bit with this exotic, making your Lightning Surges hit harder and clear rooms just like Pyrogale does. Empyrean Bellicose. Moving on to our Titan class, we'll start by taking a look at the Empyrean Bellicose exotic. A bit of a lackluster exotic in Destiny 1, so how could we update it in Destiny 2? In Destiny 1, the Bellicose came with the perk Anti-Grav Thrusters, which read, aiming weapons while in the air will hold you in place for a short time, and orbs collected while your super is full will recharge your melee ability. Now, this might sound familiar, as in Destiny 2, Warlocks have an exotic called Wings of Sacred Dawn, which do the exact same thing, holding you in the air while aiming for a more airborne playstyle. I want to keep that as a Warlock only ability, so that's out the window. But what if we gave this exotic a same but different airborne playstyle to complement its Destiny 1 heritage? Enter the perk I call Wrecking Ball. Grants an additional grapple charge. Grapple melee disorients enemies it hits and refunds energy for each enemy killed. This perk keeps the airborne idea of Bellicose alive and well by encouraging Titans to build into their grapple ability. It won't output as much damage as something like Synthoceps would, but that's the trade-off. The new Empyrean Bellicose would make grappling safer in high-end PvE by disorienting enemies. It would also regen its own energy, helping the playstyle loop back onto itself. The synergies with Into the Fray and Banner of War speak for itself, and I think this could be a really fun and viable exotic to run on Strand Titan. Helm of Inmost Light. This was a tricky one. Just like Red Death transformed into Crimson before the former was brought back into Destiny 2, Helm of Inmost Light was the predecessor of Heart of Inmost Light, which is already a standout exotic for Titan play for any subclass. So how do we update this exotic to stand out from its competition when bringing it into Destiny 2? Helm's perk in Destiny 1 was called Recklessness, which provides Death from Above and Headstrong for Fist of Havoc. Headstrong reads, sprinting increases the leap distance of Fist of Havoc. Death from Above reads, after jumping, Fist of Havoc can be aimed at enemies below. I am completely scrapping both of those in favor of parodying Helm with its Heart counterpart. If Heart buffs abilities with extra damage and charge rate, then who's to say Helm can't accomplish that but for weapons? Enter the perk Torrential Brilliance. Weapon kills grant increased weapon damage, handling, and reload speed. Stacks twice for a weapon based on kills from the other two weapon slots. Helm with this perk would be for weapons what Heart is for abilities, promoting a playstyle of frequently swapping your weapons to gain bonuses for all of them. It works with any subclass and has a low skill floor, but a high skill ceiling when paired with the right builds and weapons just like Heart. I think this would make for an interesting trade-off for Titans to choose between the two Inmost Light exotics. The Glass House. A Destiny 1 staple for Bubble Titans, this exotic looked good and gave some pretty good benefits for the user and their teammates. But how can we update this exotic to work in a Destiny 2 sandbox? Glasshouse came with the perk Bathed in Light, which read, Blessing of Light and Weapons of Light last longer. A good support exotic that buffed Bubble supers, but there's room for improvement as, in Destiny 2, Bubble has changed a bit from its Destiny 1 days. I've opted instead to allow this exotic to keep its support role through Weapons of Light and Overshields, but instead of doing so through Bubble supers, I've decided to change it to work through the Bastion aspect instead. Enter Glasshouse's new perk, Murus Lucius. Increased Bastion radius and Overshield recharge rate, grants Weapons of Light when in vicinity of Bastion. This keeps the idea of Glasshouse being a support exotic and buffs Bastion to grant Weapons of Light in the radius of the barricade. I could see this being a cornerstone of different types of Void Titan builds, supporting themselves and their team with overshields and weapon buffs. This also might help out Titans in the endgame scene where they seem to be struggling, but that's another topic entirely. The Taikonaut. This one was challenging to come up with, as Destiny 1 Taikonaut was a rocket-focused exotic, and we just received one of those in the form of Hazardous Propulsion. But let's take a look and see if we can't change this exotic to stand on its own beside Hazardous Propulsion in Destiny 2. In Destiny 1, the Taikonaut came with the perk Air Traffic Control, which states, all rocket launchers gain tracking, radar remains visible while zooming with heavy weapons, and heavy ammo drops more often. With hazardous propulsion being a great high damage option for rocket builds, where the user builds stacks without the rocket and then swaps to it for damage, I decided to flip this idea on its head and give Destiny 2 Taikonaut the updated Air Traffic Control perk. All rocket launchers gain tracking, increased blast radius, and increased reserves. Kills with rocket launchers grant bonus weapon damage to your other two weapons and have a higher chance of dropping additional heavy ammo. This allows Destiny 2's Taikonaut to stand out from hazardous propulsion by encouraging ad clear rockets, rather than high single target damage rockets. The change also keeps its Destiny 1 version alive by granting tracking to rockets that normally wouldn't have it, and I think this new perk would encourage weapon perks like Bipod that are normally skipped over in favor of higher damage. Twilight Garrison. This exotic was a Destiny 1 Titan staple, allowing for Titans to dash through the air like a Destiny 2 Icarus dash. Garrison was great in PvP and was such a common pick for Titans of any subclass. It seems like a no-brainer to update this exotic for use in Destiny 2. Its Destiny 1 perk was called Tactical Air Support, and it read, press X while airborne to evade. Fast forward to Destiny 2, and Titans now have the Thruster ability, which allows them to do the exact same thing, but not in the air, and it replaces their barricade. So let's give Thruster some upgrades with an updated Twilight Garrison perk. Tactical Air Support. Grants a second improved thruster charge. Thruster cast reloads equipped weapon. The new updated Tactical Air Support perk would allow you to hold 2 charges of your thruster ability, give you more distance upon cast, and similar to a Hunter's Marksman dodge, reloads your equipped weapon. This could lead to some play in PvE for an obviously PvP focused exotic. I could see this becoming a potential damage cycle exotic for the reloads alone. Immolation Fists. Immolation Fists were a bit boring in Destiny 1. They looked good, but its perk left a lot to be desired, and there were just better options for Titan exotics in both PvE and PvP. These exotics need a facelift, one we can give it as we transition the exotic from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2. Immolation Fist's perk in Destiny 1 was Accelerant, which read, unlocks the Sunbreaker subclass node Explosive Pyre for free. Enemies brought down by your hammer explode, chaining fiery solar damage to other enemies. Basically, it just made more explosions on each hammer kill. In Destiny 2, this is already done by Ember of Combustion. So how can we make this exotic feel more unique in Destiny 2? I propose a reworked Accelerant perk. Roaring Flame stacks grant scorching rounds to your solar weapons. The amount of applied scorch increases based on the amount of Roaring Flame stacks. Solar weapon final blows refresh but do not contribute to stacks of Roaring Flames. The new Accelerant perk would give Path of Burning Steps a run for its money, and I think it could beat it by allowing for better subclass synergy between weapons and abilities. Roaring Flame kills would give solar weapons rounds that scorch on hit, with more Roaring Flame stacks providing more scorch stacks to weapons. There are so many ways to build into this that I think we could see a serious contender to the consecration meta we seem to be stuck in. Ruin Wings. This one was a tough one to come up with, as I wanted to do it justice. I remember having Ruin Wings glued onto my Titan during raids, as the heavy gen was just too good to pass up, and it worked with any subclass. Even though they're fantastic in Destiny 1, let's update these exotic arms for use in Destiny 2. Destiny 1 Ruin Wings came with the perk Seeds of Ruin, which read, heavy ammo drops more often and contains more ammo in each drop. We live in a completely different time when it comes to heavy ammo generation in Destiny 2, but I still wanted to honor the original perk with its ammo gen and keep this exotic subclass neutral. So I reworked Seeds of Ruin. Intrinsic Harmonic Reserves and Harmonic Scavengers. Weapon kills fill a meter that guarantee a heavy ammo drop for you and your allies upon kill. The amount of energy given is dependent on the ammo type of the weapon. Keeping true to its original theme of being a heavy weapon ammo generator, the new perk would essentially work as an ammo gen support for you and your team. Weapon kills would fill a meter until full, after which your next weapon kill would drop a small amount of heavy ammo for you and your allies. The energy gained per kill would be determined by the ammo type of your weapon, with primaries granting the least and heavies granting the most progress. Maybe is this too broken? Cenotaph Warlocks exist, so maybe it's not as busted as I think. Let me know what you think of this one, as I'm still not 100% sure on it. Thagamizers. Destiny 1 Thagamizers either look incredibly goofy or incredibly badass depending on who you ask. For me, I love their design, but their Destiny 1 perk isn't the greatest, so let's give them an update to bring them into Destiny 2. Side note, did you know the name Thagamizer is actually the pointy spines on the end of dinosaur tails? Learn something new every day. In Destiny 1, Thagamizers came with the perk 1-2 Punch, which states, unlocks the Striker subclass node Amplify for free. You gain an additional melee charge. Now, besides 1-2 Punch being a completely different perk in Destiny 2, I decided to completely change up this exotic in favor of something I've been waiting for Bungie to implement, and that is the addition of poison exotics for our Titan and Hunter classes. We'll get to Hunters in a second, but right now I'd like to transform Thagamizers into a poison exotic for Destiny 2 by giving it the perk Sorrowful Revenge. Damage dealt to you or your barricade within a surrounded distance deals reduced damage and poisons enemies. Killing poisoned enemies spreads the effect and heals you based on the enemy rank killed. Weapons of Sorrow spread poison similar to necrotic grips. This would transform Thagamizers into a very aggressive, poisonous playstyle that we have only seen on Warlocks so far through necrotic grips. Enemies in PvP and PvE would become poisoned upon hitting you within 15 meters, and killing those enemies spreads that poison and heals you. Weapons of Sorrow would gain the same benefits as necrotic gives as you walk around with your poisonous spines. Acleophage Symbiote. Moving on to Hunter, I'm going to start with the Acleophage Symbiote, which is begging for an update from its Destiny 1 counterpart. It's a very unique looking exotic, but that doesn't save it from its lackluster perk, so let's update this helmet for Destiny 2's sandbox. In Destiny 1, Symbiote came with the perk Last Man Standing, which read, Golden Gun gains 1 additional shot per use. Acleophage became overshadowed by Celestial Nighthawk, and I fear it would receive the same treatment in Destiny 2 if we left it as is. So instead, I am leaning into the Symbiote portion of this exotic and granting Hunters a poison exotic similar to Necrotic Grips on Warlock by giving Acleophage the perk Symbiotic Despair. Dodging creates a pair of wisps that seek out nearby targets and drop a poison pool on the ground that deals poison damage over time. Killing poisoned enemies grants class ability energy. Weapons of Sorrow spread poison similar to Necrotic Grips. I took some inspiration from a League of Legends item called Twin Shadows when thinking about how to make an interesting poison exotic for the Hunter. Every dodge, a pair of poisonous orbs would seek out enemies and leave a poison pool at their feet. Anyone hit by the projectile itself or anyone who passes through the pool would become poisoned. Killing poisoned enemies grants class ability energy for the loop to cycle back on itself, all while granting Weapons of Sorrow the same benefits that Necrotic Grips give. This could be super fun to build around, and let's be honest, it's about time Titans and Hunters got to dip their feet into the necrotic playstyle. ATS-8 Arachnid. This Destiny 1 exotic has got to be one of the coolest looking exotics for one of the most lackluster perks that I've ever seen on an exotic. So let's give this amazing helmet an upgrade for Destiny 2's sandbox. Destiny 1 Arachnid came with the perk Arachnid Sensorium, which reads, Your golden gun zooms in for accuracy when aimed, and can be kept ready for longer. I'm gonna be honest, I can't remember ever really using this exotic for the perk. And in Destiny 2, this perk would also be among the worst exotic perks in the game. So I decided to lean into the spider aesthetic rather than its golden gun synergy by giving Destiny 2's Arachnid the perk Widowmaker. Destroying a tangle leaves a suspending web at the destroyed location. Killing suspended enemies spawns a threadling. The idea behind this new perk is to really lean into Hunter Strand Suspend builds, weaving suspending webs at tangle destruction locations similar to what Wishkeeper can do. I think this would synergize well with aspects like Whirling Maelstrom and Ensnaring Slam, and there's a lot of build synergy that could shake Hunters into more suspend or threadling focused builds. Mask of the Third Man. Hunters really did have some of the coolest looking exotics. Mask of the Third Man was a great Arc exotic and a predecessor to some Destiny 2 exotics like Raid and Flux. With that in mind, how could we update this exotic for use in Destiny 2? Mask in Destiny 1 came with the perk Unstable Current, which reads, Arc Blade attacks use less super energy. This perk was good in Destiny 1, but Raid and Flux has replaced and overshadowed this exotic. So let's give it a bit of a boost towards a different super. I would bring Mask into Destiny 2 with the updated perk Unstable Current. Additional Storm's Edge Super Throw. Storm's Edge kills refill the super once it ends based on the amount of kills. Storm's Edge is already great in PvP, but not really all that inside of PvE. So Mask now takes that super and gives it the Shards of Galanor treatment, allowing you to throw once more, and any kills you get during your super, refund the super back to you. This turns Storm's Edge into a fantastic room clearing super. It's already so fun to use, this exotic could just give it the extra oomph it needs to be viable over other PvE options. Skyburner Xanax. Once again, a really good looking and unique Destiny 1 Hunter exotic whose perk is just a little outdated, but it fulfills a fantasy of playing into an enemy faction in a similar way that Mothkeepers does in Destiny 2. So how would we change this exotic for use in Destiny 2? Anix's Destiny 1 perk was called Versatile Shooter, which states, heavy weapon kills have a chance to create orbs. Orbs collected when your super is full have a chance to grant special ammo. In my opinion, this exotic has a ton of potential and is missing the mark, especially when we compare it to Destiny 2's sandbox. To lean into that fantasy of playing as a Cabal Guardian just as Moth Keepers lets you do, I propose Destiny 2's Annex come with the perk, Glory to the Empress. Adds a grenade charge. Changes your Void Wall grenade into a tracking Scion Blast, which tracks enemies, throws them into the air, makes them volatile, and leaves a damaging Void Wall in its wake. Because come on, who wouldn't want to throw these around and chuck some poor soul skyward in PvE or PvP? This exotic basically exchanges your Void Wall for a more powerful tracking ability that the Scions throw at you in PvE. This would also give Void Hunters a purpose for really building into their grenade, something that no other exotic really emphasizes. Maybe like Moth Keepers and X Duress, we can add in a synergy with Skyburner's Oath. Maybe something like increased grenade energy on Oath kills while this exotic is equipped. I think there's a ton of fun potential there. The ATS-8 Tarantella. Once again, another amazing exotic design, but this one actually came with a decent perk, even for Destiny 1 standards. I think this was one of my most used Arc Hunter exotics and had great neutral game buffs. But how could we update this exotic into the Destiny 2 sandbox? Destiny 1 Tarantella came with the perk The Tarantella, which reads, take reduced arc damage from minions of the darkness. Arc grenades and arc blade recharge faster. Overall, a good perk for reduced damage and faster ability recharge times. But I think we can be a bit more niche when bringing this exotic into Destiny 2, which is why I opted to give the Destiny 2 exotic version the perk Spider Bite. Increase Tempest Strike damage, and defeated targets refill your melee based on enemy rank killed. Leaves a damaging / jolting thundercloud at the end of the Tempest Strike wave. Similar to Pyrogale and Consecration, Destiny 2 Tarantella would really buff Tempest Strike into use in higher end PvE content. It keeps its roots as a great art exotic, but now turns your Tempest Strike into the terrifying force that you want it to be, giving Combination Blow a run for its money in the PvE scene. Crest of Alpha Lupi. Not to be confused with the Titan exotic, Hunters also had an Alpha Lupi exotic that, confusingly, also had the same perk as Destiny 1's Titan version. So what would a Hunter's Alpha Lupi in Destiny 2 look like? In Destiny 1, Alpha Lupi carried the perk Keeper of the Pack, which states, you revive fallen teammates faster, and they revive you faster. Your super also spawns additional orbs for teammates. Just like the Titan's Alpha Lupi and the Warlock's Light Beyond Nemesis, I think this perk needs to become unique beyond its origins in Destiny 1, which is why I am updating Keeper of the Pack. Picking up Orbs of Power grants your equipped super's subclass buff to you for an improved duration. Allies who enter your pack's radius immediately gain your subclass buff, mirroring your buff timer. Weapon kills inside your pack's radius refresh your buff timers. Solar would give Restoration, Arc would grant Amplified, Void would give Overshield, Stasis would grant Frost Armor, and Strand would grant Woven Mail. I might be going a bit strong on this one, but hear me out. This basically would act as Facet of Purpose on steroids, and would give Hunters an all-purpose support exotic, proccing for allies in a radius. It mirrors Destiny 1's crest by being subclass neutral and buffing the Orbs of Power you pick up. To balance it, allies who leave your radius immediately would lose their buff, making it extremely feast or famine. But for those who are willing to stick close together and play as a pack, they'll find themselves being constantly supported by this revamped Hunter exotic. Don't Touch Me. The Don't Touch Me's, or as I refer to them, the DTMs, were an interesting idea of an exotic back in Destiny 1. I personally don't remember using them much, except for making Crota's first encounter a little easier, but how could we update this exotic for use in Destiny 2's sandbox? In Destiny 1, the DTMs came with the perk Defensive Reflex, which reads, taking damage from a melee attack makes you briefly invisible. Again, kind of a cool idea for an exotic of its time. Originally when I thought up this exotic's update, I thought up a pairing with Threaded Spectre, only for Bungie to go and make the Balance of Power exotic, which does just that. So I thought I would lean back into the invisibility aspect and give Destiny 2's DTMs the perk Killer's Mark. Stylish Executioner's weaken effect is increased. Killing the affected enemy causes a burst of damage that weakens enemies around it. Basically, this takes Stylish Executioners from a 15% debuff to a 30% debuff, on par with something like Tractor or Tether. When killing that debuffed enemy, they explode and weaken others around them with that same debuff, which allows Void Hunters to lean more into the debuff support role that they seem to excel at. I don't think this is too out of bounds, as the Fellwinter Helm on Warlock does the exact same thing, but let me know what you think. Bones of AO. Bones was such a weird Destiny 1 exotic, really only being used to help clear the jumping puzzle in the King's Fall raid. But the bone aesthetic is always really cool in my opinion. So what would a Destiny 2 version of Bones look like? In Destiny 1, Bones came with the perk Not Bound by Law, which reads, upgrades double jump with an additional jump. I'm gonna be honest, with Destiny 2 I don't think I've ever wished for an additional jump unless I really miscalculated my jump. So let's redesign this exotic with a more battle-focused perk that I'll call Shattering Stride. Dealing powered melee damage grants a stack of frost armor. Taking melee damage shatters the frost armor and deals damage based on the amount of stacks held. Any shatter damage dealt reduces the cooldown of Withering Blade. This exotic was really fun to redesign, as I think the idea is really unique and gives another exotic for Stasis Hunter to play around with. Get powered melee hits with Withering Blade, get frost armor. When you're meleeed, the armor shatters and deals damage. I like to think that the shattering frost armor doesn't actually remove the stacks, but puts the armor shatter on a cooldown. Pair that with the ability for any shatter damage to reduce Withering Blade cooldown, similar to Whisper of Shards for grenades, and you'll be throwing shurikens all day long with the right build. So that's it. That's every single exotic armor, not including the class items, from Destiny 1, updated for Destiny 2's sandbox. Would love to know your thoughts on these proposed updates, and let me know which exotic armor you'd like to see in the comments down below. I'll be doing the same thing for exotic weapons soon, so be on the lookout for that video. And for those of you still watching, thank you so much for sticking around. I'm looking to make more content like this, and your support means everything. If you have any ideas for content or suggestions on how I can improve my videos, please don't be afraid to reach out to me by commenting below.